So ever since spring break, I have been absolutely social distanced from a lot of people. As a college student, I have been struggling a little bit. I've been, piling up assignments and I've been doing my assignments, but it's been really hard to keep on track and such minimal human contact. It's weird. So I usually am sort of a homebody, but this takes it to a different level. My brother has been staying awake till 4 in the morning and then going to sleep during the day. So everyone's dealing with it differently in my house. I actually enjoyed going to college. It had me meeting new people, even though sometimes waking up for an 8 a.m. is not the business. And I had a 4-hour class, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of a little bit grateful for this quarantine. I'm still, doing all my classwork from home. There's that introvert side of me that I'm super okay with this. I get to eat what I want to eat. I get to do my classwork when I want to do my classwork. I don't even have to get dressed for it. And it's kind of weird how much I enjoy the quarantine. It's almost like walking on eggshells, online learning, because I don't know certain things and I'll ask and the teacher will give me a part answer and then I'm still lost and I feel like I've sent a billion emails about the same thing. Even if we do have Zoom meetings twice a week, it's just you can't say, face to face what you want to your professor or to your peers. The thing that I'm really fearful of is our entire economy collapsing. People before this virus were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet, and we don't know what's happening to those people during this virus. We know that there's people struggling. There's people that are struggling to feed their families. There's people that are struggling to get food from the stores because of the whole craziness. We all wish we knew more than what we do. So I just wish that we knew what was coming next. Some of my professors are very understanding, very courteous, and they realize we are going through a pandemic. These times are going to be weird. And some professors are just kind of I gave you a due date and you didn't give it to me on that due date, so there's nothing I can do about that, which is interesting. But HCC has done a great job emailing me, asking to join Zoom meetings with the dean, and they have been lovely. They're offering us Chromebooks, they're offering us hotspots, and that extra guidance and support. I think what I'm talking about more specifically is certain professors are not as how do I say this and not be rude, I don't know, not as understanding or conscientious of the time that we're in and how weird it is for us. All I can say to everyone is to just be considerate. When you're at the store, do you have to grab all of the tissues that are left, all of the toilet paper that's left? No. You can leave it for the person behind you because we are all in this together. I know that we're technically not together at all. There's people that are fearing for their lives. I've been on the phone with so many different people that are just, they don't know what to do, what's next, or even essential workers that are working to the bone, that they're mentally exhausted. Just be nice. I think that's always my thing. That's my dog. Can I show her real quick? Okay, this is my dog. If we're kind to one another and we stay home, this thing will be over with and we're gonna come back together so much stronger.
How has it been moving from working outside the home to working at home with your family?
Adjusting to the new environment, it was an unprecedented stress, and I think the best term to sum it all up is just cabin fever, and just preparing, make sure that we had all the necessary supplies at our household. I think after about 4 to 5 weeks, I ended up adjusting to staying inside. Well, my job transitions to doing everything over the internet, and it definitely was challenging as we figured out the new technology, how to do online meetings. But overall, I'd say I'm still very lucky to be able to work in this environment. I think mentally we all just have to kind of pivot and make an adjustment And that stress, that fear, that uncertainty, the first 4 to 5 weeks is that I didn't have any type of physical outlet was staying inside all the time. So I had to find new outlets, I had to find new exercises. And once I did, my mentality improved as well.
What do you worry about with coronavirus?
One of the things that I do worry about, especially in regards to my mother, who's a bit older, is just the wave of anti-Asian sentiment and violence that broke out, during the advent of the coronavirus. I hope that doesn't continue.
How do you think the media is making you feel with the coronavirus? Safer or more scared, and why?
I think you have to be very selective in choosing your media. In general, bad news spreads like wildfire, and if it bleeds, it leads. All these things are just very symbolic of the current state of our media. But even looking at a few news clips here and there, I can understand why people get anxious, why people get scared. I primarily look towards the CDC or the World Health Organization as far as what their guidelines are, because so often you get mixed messages.
What message do you want to share with others?
Right? So no matter what the situation is or how bad it is, we need to always be looking forward and do so with a rational mind, without fear, and to take care of those that are vulnerable and to protect them.
I'm a security guard, and I'm also a customer service representative, as well as a PCA.
If you have older or more vulnerable family members, how are you helping them and protecting them?
I'm PCA for my mother. She has stage 4 terminal breast cancer. You have to take extreme precaution with that. Once I get into the house, I have to totally strip down, shower, and then either wash the clothes or bag them and keep them in my car. I have to always wear gloves and a face mask, as well as a spit guard if I'm helping my mother.
How is coronavirus affecting you economically?
I actually keeping all my hours. I feel bad for the people who aren't, but I've actually kept and increased the amount of hours that I worked. A lot of nights I'm not getting full hours of sleep and stuff like that.
What do you worry about with coronavirus?
I worry about my mother getting sick a lot. It hurts a lot when I think about the fact that my mother survived for 6 years with terminal breast cancer when she was projected to die within 6 months, and now there's this pandemic going around that could literally take her from me just in the blink of an eye, because they say, people with pre-existing conditions, it's just pretty instant. I watched a friend's grandmother go from being perfectly healthy, tested positive for it, and she went 3 days from stage 1, not feeling well and having shortness of breath, to having chest pains on the second day, and then being put on a ventilator that night, and then passing away next morning. I fear that for my mother. She doesn't deserve to contract a virus like that and just have 6 years of fighting go down the tubes because certain people aren't taking the proper measures.
How do you think the media is making you feel with the coronavirus? Safer or more scared, and why?
There's a new guideline every day that they make over the top, or they just kind of beat it to death with a million interviews about a single guideline, such as the mask thing. Like 3 months ago, it was you don't have to wear a mask, and then everybody was talking about that, and everybody's talking about how people are crazy. And now 3 months later, it's like, hey, everybody wear a mask. And now everybody's stressing, and if you don't have a mask, you're looked at as a crazy person. I believe in informing people, but not over-informing to the point of hysteria.
Is there anything you need your community or your city to be providing you?
I do believe that the community around me, the people who are out of work, do need some help. Some people are having hard times feeding their families, and I think they should be the ones receiving the help. I've seen people who just can't deal with it. A lot of people who were previously relying on, transportation and people coming and picking them up, and now people are refusing to. Ubers and things like that, just the limiting of moving around. I understand the purpose of that, and I understand that we're supposed to be quarantined, but it's important that the community as a whole stays the community, because when you start to isolate people, it fractures that.
What message do you want to share with others?
If you don't take care of your mental health, everything else really goes down the tubes. They say your immune system is totally reliant upon how you think in your brain. So if you're thinking you're sick and you're panicking and you're going crazy and you're saying, "Oh, I got the coronavirus," or I feel bad today," you can really think yourself up into a storm, and it doesn't help your body. Try and stay positive as possible. We're all going to get through this. In this day and age, we've been living in a time that is, compared to the rest of all of human history, is pretty much the easiest going time to be alive. Nobody's ever been provided for like people today have been. And you can see how in the blink of an eye, it kind of just all goes away. So I believe that it'll all go back to normal. You just got to give it time. You got to follow the rules too. Because if you don't, you have to keep the distancing in place and you have to do all that. It just prolongs it. We can all get through this together.
I'm doing good. I think everybody's like on the same boat where we're just waiting for the world to like open up and slowly get back to normal. I have a job where I do a Zoom call as well with Mass Hire, and they have a group of youth that we're teaching how to run a screen printing business.
Is there any way like your life changed because of COVID?
Before everything like got shut down, I remember that I wanted to like start going back into school, but then everything started getting shut down, so that stopped my whole plans of even trying to get back into school. I really don't like online learning because it's not the same as somebody like they're teaching you and you can ask them questions right there on the spot and have conversations that are like that you learn from and stuff like that.
What's it been like being home all the time?
Like being home all the time just makes me walk up and down my living room in circles around my house. I'm like inside more and I'm staying with my family and reconnecting with my family more. My parents talk about their childhood.
And like, how do you feel when you're out in public and around others?
Sometimes I get anxiety and then there's days that I don't care. But I get anxiety because everybody like, they just think that you're sick already and you're not. So like when they see you, they try to like go around you, and I do the same thing. I try to go around people instead of like trying to get too close. It feels like everybody's just panicking sometimes when you're like in the store and stuff.
What like worries you the most about it?
That the virus mutates and becomes stronger, or like another virus that's stronger than this virus comes and like closes down the world worse than this did, you know.
What are some questions you have about the virus?
When did it really start? How did it start? That's kind of my big question.
I'm 17 years old and I attend Holyoke High School.
How has your life been since COVID-19 started?
It's been very confusing. It's like having this unsure feeling about everything I do now. Literally anything you do, like should I go outside? Should I go here? Should I stay back a little? It's like summer vacation right now. It still feels like it's just quarantine, not even summer vacation. Everything's just very lost at this point.
I know how that feels. I know how you feel for that.
Having both my parents home and me and my brother home, it's been very hectic. A lot of bumping heads and like just wanting to get out and not wanting to be here. It's very, very stressful. And like trying to keep everyone entertained with the same thing they were doing for the past couple months is really, really hard.
Is it hard on you to motivate yourself as well?
Yes. We just finished the school year and I do not work very well online. So it was very hard to separate my room and like school at home since my computer's in my bedroom.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard to look at my computer even. Like when I wake up, it's right there. And it just kept reminding me of all the things I had to do. And it's just like I fell back very hard in class. And usually that's not the case with me. I'm usually top in school. Going to school every day, you see your friends every day and like they're always there for you. But now it's like it feels even hard to just send a text to somebody. Because like I personally, I can't. Like part of me just doesn't want to anymore to talk to people and like get what I have, like what I'm feeling out. And I had somebody speak to at school. And now it's very hard because I don't see that person every day, that adult at school. My little brother doesn't understand anything that I have to go through. It just gets on my nerves half the time. It's just being stuck in this, like, these four walls. It's horrible. Like I personally have like anxiety and all that, so it's like it's really hard not wanting to just run and just go at any chance possible. I've been trying to find different outlets to get through that, so like painting, drawing, reading, playing video games, just little things to try and keep my mind off of it.
Do you believe that you will eventually open up to everyone else, like eventually you'll be able to go back to that person you are?
I'm trying. I feel like I'm starting to like open up a little more to people and trying to like break out of like the shell that I've been holding myself in.
I will say it is tough. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. Is there anything that you need the school or the community to provide you?
Probably just for seniors, mostly is just the support for like trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. And I feel like with like online learning, I feel like we're not going to get much of that.
Yeah.
Which is probably to be expected. Holyoke Public Schools have been like very helpful with reaching out to parents and like asking what they need, and like they gave all the kids Chromebooks to take home and like use for classes. And like anything you would need, they are literally on it. So I feel like that's been really helpful.
Is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to tell the people?
I'm not the only one stuck at home right now. I'm not the only one going through what I'm going through. And it's like almost comforting to think about it. And like, I'm not the only one caring for a sibling or trying to balance things. Something specific to me is that I'm religious. So it's been really hard juggling that and trying to stay connected to like my religion and my faith without being there in the church, like really, really hopefully we won't be stuck in this forever. I'm sticking on to that hope of that, like they'll find the vaccine and they'll be able to stop this and hold it. I feel like people will still hold on to like the masks, like definitely. And I just feel like once everybody's a bit more comfortable and like people are like not as afraid, I think it'll be okay.
This affected your learning in any type of way?
I didn't know what to do at first. It was a learning curve, having to check my emails every day, having to be on top of things. I felt like I didn't learn as much, but I did as well because I had the videos and I can watch them whenever I wanted to. And if I forgot something, I can go back and watch the videos that they have recorded. So that was really good for me. My grandfather has cancer, so we can't go see them. They are my neighbors, so they live in front of me, in front of my house. So what we mainly do is that we buy stuff for them and we just give it through the fence. Mm-hmm. And we disinfect everything and we talk through the phone because we can't have him or my grandmother be exposed. What worries me a lot is how people are reacting, because some people are like quarantining themselves, but other people are like, no, you can take my rights away. I don't want to wear masks, right. or doing things that they shouldn't be doing right now in this climate that we have now. So those people worry me a lot because I want this to be over. But I want to know more about what's happening, with a medicine for it or a vaccine. I've heard a lot of things from the end of this year that is not going to stop. So maybe next year, around summer or something, everything will get back to normal. We could go out without wearing our masks or anything. So yeah, and I'm excited for that.
How are you doing in the time of COVID?
It's a huge adjustment, living life during a pandemic. But, we all make do. I think the hardest part for me was actually being sick and dealing with the isolation. I think isolation in itself is horrible to deal with, but when you're sick and isolated, it's not only horrible, but scary. So that's what I was battling.
So you're confirming that you did have COVID.
Well, I didn't have a confirmed test, but had all the symptoms and am still symptomatic to this day. It's been, I don't know, 24 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably been, no, and that there's no probably, it has been the worst experience ever of my life. And very, very scary. And, there were a couple nights that I didn't think I was going to wake up. Although I'm still symptomatic now and I have days where I literally can't function, they're fewer and farther apart, so that's good. I was accepted into the Yale post-COVID clinic down in New Haven. So yeah, that's a brand new clinic for people with COVID and people who are long haulers like me. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And hopefully I'll have some answers and relief, from my symptoms. I've spent, quite a bit of money fighting COVID. I've purchased things that I never thought I would be buying. A blood pressure cuff, high-end masks, like 3M mask. Those things aren't cheap. I mean, all kinds of vitamins. I'm eating a lot healthier. So, it's expensive to eat healthy. I'm probably gonna have to buy new clothes because I've lost 27 pounds and nothing fits.
Wow.
So I just want people to get it. We're in a pandemic and we have the highest numbers in the world. It's not a joke. It's not a hoax. It's a deadly virus.
How is COVID affecting you socially?
I see a VA therapist. She's been, really, really helpful during this time. I did reach out to friends as well. I've had some very supportive friends. They would drop off groceries to my porch, Pedialyte. In this age of social media where you can text or message, be on Messenger or Zoom, that has been very helpful as well, because even though you're isolated in your apartment, you have those outlets. My sister had a friend who was isolated. I think that the isolation was getting to her, and she actually committed suicide. So,
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So I think it's extremely important to check in on people, even if you think they're doing great. They may not be.
Is there anything that worries you about COVID-19?
I worry about my mother, who is elderly and has underlying conditions. I worry about us achieving herd immunity. I don't think it'll ever be normal as we knew it. A lot of people are probably going to need some therapy. I think that people will recover, but we'll never forget.
Like the Twin Towers?
Yes.
No one ever forgot that?
Yes. I will never forget this, ever, as long as I live. It has changed me in ways that you'll never know. I'm a lot more patient and grounded. Prior to this, I would look out my window and see birds and just think, oh, well, there's some birds outside. Now I look at them and I know their schedule. I feed them. I have a birdhouse that I put outside. I see them in their entirety. I'm a lot more humble, and I take nothing for granted. Nothing.
Nice.
Because this could all end tomorrow. I remember sending some of my friends messages and telling them how much I appreciated them. And they were probably thinking, what on earth? But I just want them to know that, you know what I mean? I think it's important to tell people how you feel now, because
Definitely.
you may not get a chance to do that.
I'm a college student and I'm 23 years old.
How are you doing during this time of coronavirus?
It's hard not to go outside and not be afraid to catch COVID or have it and bring it back to families or relatives and people you love and care about. it's like the thought of it itself is kind of scary. So but I feel so caged in at home too, you know, like I need to go outside, get some air, because I don't know, it's like a whole, it's kind of like a revolu.
A lot of people are feeling a lot of stress now, struggling with feeling down and feeling depressed. How has it been for you?
Difficult and highly stressful. Even the smallest things can have, you know, some pretty big effects. So, and the bigger things hit like 50,000 times harder. So it's like, I just think everybody's very stressed, and I feel like it's normal.
Talk about what it's been like being away from school.
I never really liked school, honestly, but once I entered college, our mindset kind of changed. It's like I learned a lot. I met some really nice people, doing a lot of hands-on stuff, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, COVID, all your classes are online now," and they give you twice as much the work. I miss going to school. I miss my professor. I miss my classmates. I miss my friends. I literally learn hands-on way better than any other kind of way for learning. So I oversleep so much because of how much stress it is to be taking classes online and all the work that they make you do. So I'm constantly oversleeping.
We've been experiencing life in this pandemic for over 6 months now. How have your feelings changed about it?
At first, when I found out about it, I was so terrified. My anxiety was like off the roof. But now I'm kind of like a little calmer, but I'm still scared. Wearing the mask is so irritating, but I can't go outside without one because of fear. I just prefer that, you know, people follow CDC guidelines, and if you're gonna go outside, wear a mask. Please put a mask on your child too. They deserve as much safety as you do.
How is it affecting you economically?
I kind of lost like my campus job. That was an income that I was receiving, so it's kind of stressful.
What is the message you want to share with others?
Consider to get tested when we can, or when we should, and like be cautious, but don't be rude to other people, you know, because you don't know their life situation. Everybody's dealing with one specific problem, which is COVID, but you don't know how many more problems they got on their plate.
How are you doing during this time of coronavirus?
I'm doing good right now. During the beginning stages, it wasn't so good. I work at a nursing home. So at one point we had about 60 patients with COVID in-house. We're at 0 now, which is good. So that alleviated a lot of stress. But yeah, it was intense during the beginning stages because, you know, we didn't know like exactly what to do. It was so like it felt rushed. Like we had to like get all our gowns going and kind of implement a lot of stuff within our workplace.
My mom works at a nursing home too, but she's like a CNA. So like it is tough.
Our workplace tests us every week. So you know, we know who gets COVID and things like that. So it's good to know like we don't have anybody in the building right now with COVID. I guess like it can be stressful when I get tested. I'm not really doing much. I come home, I spend time with the wife or whatever. I hang out with a couple of friends here and there, but you know, you still have that worry, like, man, like, do I got it? Like, because you never know, you know, it's just like anxiety kind of kicks in real quick. Yeah. When you get tested, you got to wait for the results. Then like every week you get tested. It's just like it's good in a way, but then it's still kind of like, it can be stressful.
If you have more vulnerable family members, how are you helping to protect them?
I'm not really visiting my family members just because like I work at a nursing home and like I'm very, very cautious. Like when I get home, I put everything in a bag. I'm still doing this to this day. Like I'm very I put hand sanitizer on. I'm still wiping things because like my family members, you know, they like to hang out and they like to chill and all that. So
Yeah, bro, you already know.
Just, you know what I mean? I kind of just like to just go to work and come home, and it ain't nothing but a simple call away. You know.
Yeah. And if you feel the liberty to talk about it, how is the pandemic been affecting those who you work with?
CNAs like that work with an agency or whatever the case is that come in, and they might have worked in another nursing home that has COVID. The first stages of it, like, it was getting out of hand because they will work at another nursing home, then they will come in and then bring the virus, and then we have to clean the whole place up again. And it can also be stressful too, because like I work with people that are like a little older, and they do have health issues, and
Yeah.
it can be their anxiety can kick in a lot with that. But like I said, we're all careful. We all wear our masks like 8 hours a day. We clean the kitchen throughout. So,
And how is it affecting you, like socially?
I can't reach in for hugs anymore, or
Yeah.
I gotta kind of do the little knuckle fist or whatever,
Yeah.
or air hugs or whatever. Yeah.
Have you witnessed any discrimination against someone like who's had it?
No. Donald Trump, like, he was kind of being ignorant about it, like, it was a great experience or whatever the case is. He's the only one I know that kind of was like kind of ignorant about it. But
Many people have been protesting and rallying for racial justice. Can you talk about whether or not you joined these protests, or how you feel about them as they relate to COVID-19?
yes, I have joined the Black Lives Matter protests, the one that was in Springfield, Mass. A lot of people showed out, man. A lot of people. Majority of the people were wearing masks. We weren't 6 feet apart. I was, but a lot of people wasn't. But we got our statement across, and I feel it's very important to speak out on injustice and what you believe in, especially right now with voting. It's very important, man, to speak out and on what you believe in.
How are you doing in this time of COVID-19?
It is stressful as heck. It's just been a wild ride. I'm still not used to it. I went from having maybe one online class a semester to doing my entire senior year online, which is not fun at all. Whoever says it's fun, they're lying. They are dirty liars.
Like, do you want to go back to school on campus, or it's just that you're scared of COVID? Like, how do you feel about that in general?
At this point, if given the option, I would not go back. I live with my two elderly grandparents, and for me, I just find it completely too dangerous. I wouldn't risk their lives for anything. And at least in my case, it was actually cheaper to continue my schooling online. I worked at school, and when school closed down, I lost my job, which was really hard for me and my family, because I usually helped my grandparents out wherever I could, and suddenly I was scraping by on my savings, and it just turned a lot of things around, and it still is.
Was it hard for you to learn the concept of online learning?
It was extremely hard because I am a very tactile person. I can read directions 50 times. I will not understand them one bit. If you show me how to do it, I will understand it completely. But these teachers that I've known for 4 years that were so tactile and brought in, crafts and activities for us to understand this, they can't do that now. There's going to be an incredible dropout rate. It's because not everyone can learn via Zoom. Most of my teachers, they have 2 to 3 kids in varying ages, in varying grades. They're very honest, like, I'm struggling in kids. I don't think I'm going to be able to grade it this week. Can you wait until next week? And honestly, a lot of us are like, yeah, take care of your family. We have our own families to take care of.
I can relate. I have a 3-year-old.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww.
I've been running circles trying to take care of him and juggling daycare and juggling schoolwork. The work of a single parent is so stressful. And to be taking 16 credits
is,
Oh my
you
God.
know,
You're doing all of this during a pandemic.
yeah.
I am proud of you. I'm sure there's so many people that are proud.
Oh,
I'm
man.
definitely proud of you.
Back on topic, but thank you very much. A lot of people are feeling a lot of stress right now, and they're struggling with being down. They're struggling with depression. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I am diagnosed with anxiety and depression. It's COVID. It's an election year. There are protests. There's so many things going on in the world. And for the first couple weeks, it was a struggle because I was so used to waking up, getting dressed, getting a shower, walking to my classes. And now I walk less than a foot from my bed to my desk. And the motivation was the hardest. The motivation to get up out of my bed. There are days when I sleep through my classes, I'm not gonna lie, because I just couldn't sleep the night before because I was anxious. I was up with bad dreams. I would just get up in the middle of the night and not go back to sleep. And no matter how good the medication is, no matter how good your therapist is, no matter how good your support system is, there's going to be days where you just can't get through it.
If there's anything else you'd like to tell me that I didn't ask you?
It's okay to have a bad day. You're in a pandemic. You're doing all of this crap. It is okay to log off of your Zoom and just cry. You're a student, you're a parent, and you're someone looking after a kid, and you've had a stressful day. It's a stressful time. It's okay to cry. It's okay to just want to get in your bed, watch some Netflix, and binge out on a whole bag of popcorn by yourself, because it's not selfish. You're taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and if you do that, it's actually going to make you a better person for the people around you.
I'm working locally as a CNA, and I'm also attending college to become a nurse. So this whole virtual online learning thing has really been kind of a challenge for me. I'm not super technically savvy, but it's been a different experience. You really have to be certainly self-directed in your studying, which is new to me. It's been kind of rushed and thrown together rather than an organized kind of experience, which has been difficult as well. I know everyone's trying their best, but I got decent grades this semester, which surprised me. Maybe because I don't have to travel and I'm kind of late to class sometimes, but I didn't believe that I could do something like online learning, self-directed mostly, and I've really been able to prove that I can. So I guess that's kind of a positive experience in this whole thing, is knowing how strong I am.
Have you tested positive for COVID-19?
No, I got that phone call from work. It said, hey, call right back, and I called back and they said, you're tested positive, and I was terrified. I was at clinical, I was potentially exposing other people, and I just cried. I was really, really pent up with emotions for a while.
And did you have like symptoms or anything?
So they told me about 6 days after I had tested positive, and I did have symptoms. There was a day where I couldn't get out of bed. I was stressed with nursing school. I attributed my symptoms to just being stressed and overworked, honestly. Then they said I tested positive, and it all came together. Like, really, I was very sick. I had GI symptoms. My stomach was not good. My muscles hurt. I felt like I was hit by a truck. And I did have some shortness of breath, but I thought, I haven't been cleaning my house as much as I'd like. I've been busy, and it was pretty rough. Symptoms only lasted about a week, though. My partner actually quarantined with me. We assumed that he was positive. We didn't want to expose anyone at his workplace as well. We had an outbreak actually at my facility. So they're very tight on the testing. Every 3 days, they implemented extra PPE.
We've been experiencing life in the pandemic for a little bit over 9 months now.
Mm-hmm.
How have your feelings changed over time about it?
Initially, I was terrified. I'm sure everyone around has been terrified because of the unknown. I'm still very frightful of it, even though I have more knowledge. We have a vaccine out there. It's more I'm worried about other people rather than myself. I walk outside and there's people without masks on, and it's just I wish we could all look out for each other and protect each other. I think a lot of people are having COVID fatigue and they're caring a little less about it.
Do you think life will go back to normal eventually?
For a lot of people, especially those who struggle with mental health issues, it might not actually get back to normal. I think there might be a bit of a lingering fear back there that something else might happen or it might come back. When we come out of the mask phase, the hand sanitizer phase, the hand washing phase, it's going to feel very like naked and afraid. I think that a lot of people are still going to be scared to go to the grocery store and stand close. I hope that we can still keep the 6 feet distance a little bit because I do like it. I do like the personal space.
What's it been like just being home during the pandemic?
Number one thing is just finding what to do with in your free time. Like I tried, playing video games, like, finding something to do other than school was just like the hardest thing. It's to stay active, to stay focused on certain things.
So you're a college student?
Mm-hmm. HCC. Freshman in college, you're already trying to get used to the pace of college and all this other things. And then to throw on a whole pandemic at the start for someone like me, who's been going to school in person for 15 years, you can't just, it's a struggle to tell you, okay, you have to do all your work online. I had to withdraw from a couple classes. I'm thankful that it wasn't that hard on me in terms of my grades. I definitely didn't do what I was expected to do. But, nonetheless, I still made it throughout that. And I'm thankful that I can say I'm back on track. Just getting used to this whole virtual stuff. I appreciate the time that I get in virtual because it's kind of like if I was in person, I would be there 3 times out of the week. This virtual stuff, most of the professors are being lenient and they're understanding that even just being in the pandemic takes energy away from people, let alone students. So they're more mindful of that and they're giving us some breaks.
If you have older or more vulnerable family members, how are you helping them, like to protect them?
My mom and dad, they're not old, but then again, they're not like younger folks where their immune systems are snappy like ours, where we could fight this virus off. So I think one of the necessary precautions that I started taking with my folks was having them take vitamins and zinc and things like that, just making sure that their health is at top form and drinking a lot of water, having them stay hydrated. And obviously trying my best to stay away from people that obviously like just don't take the virus serious.
Have you had COVID or tested positive for COVID?
So I've never directly tested positive, but the beginning of the pandemic, I was working at my security job and I was kind of, because my mom was out of work, so I had to like kind of work a lot, like 40 hours a week, full time basically, while going to school and all that. And I was kind of in a people traffic heavy area, the bus station in Springfield. So, people coming in and out. But I just got really sick and I checked into the hospital. They kept me for about a day or two. But the nurse, because at that time, this was like around April and COVID tests were like really, really hard to come by at the time. So she told me, she was like, it could be a stomach bug, but then again, it could very well be the coronavirus. Even if I think I'm immune, I still take the precautions and things like that. You can never be too sure. There's some people out there that are just straight up don't believe in it and just walk around maskless and things like that. So for those people, I definitely carry some type of ill will, because at the end of the day, it's like, come on, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're trying to save as many lives as possible.
We've been experiencing it for like over 9 months now. Like, how your feelings have changed over time?
Now I think it's safe to say that now I'm used to living this new life. I've kind of gotten accustomed to it. The main lesson that you take from this is just to keep moving forward, regardless of what lies ahead.
And is there anything the school or the community could be providing you?
My job, Mass Hire Holy, we're giving vouchers away for people to get internet at a discount who are low income. Both community centers and the schools all around I think they've already done the first part, which is give out laptops and things like that. But I think they should partner up with some of the internet providers around and try to get the youth free internet access, because everything's virtual. That's great, but what about the kids who don't have the means to get on this stuff?
How do you feel about like the businesses reopening? Do you feel safe?
We can see all around through Western Mass that we lost a lot of great restaurants and local businesses. I'm definitely on the side of businesses reopening, but just skeptical on the restaurants, because taking off your mask is just kind of, you're making yourself really vulnerable.
What is the message you want to share?
Try to find a way to make use of your time. If you're not doing nothing, that leaves room for thinking into the future, which leads to anxiety, and then thinking about the past as well, which opens up to depression and things like that. So I would say, try to focus your time on something.
Do you think that life will go back to normal eventually?
With the new administration coming in, there's talks that they're going to speed up the vaccination process. So I don't see us being in this for an extended period of time.
So how are you doing during this time of coronavirus?
So working and study and stay home, just like that.
And how do you try to protect yourself?
Stay away from the family. So like I'm staying in the basement. This is my study place. And my children stay upstairs, and they each room, we divide it. What can I say? Yeah. Sometimes we eat together, sometimes separately. And your kids going to school with online, and my mother-in-law and me, as usually we get along, but every day we see each other, at home, so it's kind of the more conflict. So that is stressful. I'm in the nursing school right now, and we have to go to clinical, but we never made it. I love to go out eat, like I'm going to the restaurant once a week with the friends, but I cannot go anymore. And I gained weight 12 pounds. I cannot, active like before.
Yeah. If you have any older or vulnerable family members, how are you helping them to protect them?
My mother-in-law had a COVID on November. So she was very sick. She's 84, and she doesn't have any complication of the medical issue, but she recovered.
Have you had COVID-19 or tested positive for COVID-19?
Not me. My husband and my mother-in-law, 2 people in our house. I've been working with a COVID patient, but I got the negative. And yesterday I got the second dose of the vaccine. So hopefully stable.
Yeah, that's good. And do you know anyone that's passed away from COVID-19 or related illness?
Yeah. My sister-in-law's mother-in-law. So she is 94, and she get the COVID from the facility. She was in the nursing home. She was suffered like 2 months. She died on 24th, December 24th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a sad story in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working as a PCT, patient care technician, but while I'm breaking, the winter break, I worked a lot, like 54 hours. They need more than before people, It's a lot of people sick. At January, a lot of people I know, and many people have COVID positive. So I don't know exactly what's the cause about it, but it's kind of the people sick of the the distance asymptomatic. That is really it's powerful for the COVID. Before you call me, I just got the phone call from the East Long Middle High School, the nurse, and she said that my son exposure to the COVID classmate have COVID positive. So she want me to check on him, how he is doing. I don't want him to go anymore. I have to go to test and give to them result, and this is a lot of work. We need a vaccine and to have for everybody to reopen the schools. Economically, my husband have a small business, so we have a dry cleaner shop, but it's no customer. And also, we didn't get the $600 stimulus check. We didn't get that. I don't know why. It's really bad. It's kind of he gotta go through the unemployment, and that's why I was working a lot. I feel like next month it's gonna be very hard for us to survive.
That sounds like really tough for you guys. I'm sorry to hear that. And how is it affecting you socially, like your friends and stuff?
The last year we had a plan to go into our country, but it was all canceled. And so we've been calling each other. Kind of the screen and person is different.
Yeah.
So we can hug and we can touch, and that is really hard. As a social life is a kind of death. Lately, my husband told me he feels so lonely. It's kind of for everyone. So my children, they cannot play with the friends. There's a lot of gaming, but I cannot blame because I'm watching all the dramas. What we can do in our times. So it's mentally a little bit depressed. When I go to the grocery stores, I feel like people are angry. Sometimes I'm watching their faces, what they're thinking, but it's so flat and no emotion. It's kind of like a dead body walking around,
Yeah, I think it's just a depressing time for everyone. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really hard time for everybody.
What do you worry the most about?
Our church member, we have a lot of elderly. It's most worry about the elderly people is the loneliness and the depression, and usually they are so vulnerable and no visitor and high risk of the suicidal too.
Is there anything you need the community or your city to be providing you?
East Long Middle School provide lunch for the kids. At home, we stay home, so I have to pick up every day for the lunch. And as a community, they try to help the people. The Walgreen, they call because we have elder, so they call asking about how she's doing and something like that. They personal in touch. We'll appreciate it.
And do you think life will go back to normal eventually?
We've been too used to like a computer online world. This is kind of the open to everybody. If you want to buy something, Amazon have everything, and so I don't think we're gonna go back to the normal life.
What is a message you want to share with others?
I think we have to react, overcome to our depression. You gotta stay positive and hey Google, play active music and something before you get up, be creatively positive.
I work as a nursing assistant in a local hospital.
How are you doing during this time of COVID?
I am sick of it. From a certain perspective, it's been really interesting to see how we've all changed what we do and to sort of have a inside look at how the disease works and everything, but in another sense it's completely horrible because people are dying. I find myself thinking that it could be much, much, much worse, but it could also have been and continue to be much better.
You worked with COVID-19 patients. What has that been like?
Once the virus came and nobody knew what to do, I would go into work and, various procedures would be different day to day of keep the door open, keep the door closed, do this, do that, this is okay to wear, that's not okay to wear. And things, eventually settled into a pattern. We, had a fairly mild lack of PPE, but, we soon got enough stuff that people were feeling safe. It gives you confidence to have good equipment. Communicating with patients has been hard. We wear elastomeric respirators, so they're the half face masks, like Darth Vader looking things, and face shields. And each room has a blower to have negative air pressure, so that whatever's in the air in that room stays in the room. And these blowers aren't quiet, and so you have your muffled voice with the mask, and then this huge white noise machine going. And so communicating with patients has been very difficult. I would go home and my throat would be sore because I'm basically yelling through my whole shift.
While working with COVID patients, what do you want to share? What would you like to share with others?
It's a mean disease. Your ability to get oxygen is decreased. And so you get confused about what's going on, where you are. You're intubated, or you're just on, with nasal cannulas of oxygen pumping in. That stuff is uncomfortable. It feels really weird. People get to the point where if they move, they're dangerously low on oxygen. There's a COVID rash that happens when you're laying in bed, and it's just, it happens really, really quick with COVID patients, and the skin starts to break down. And, it's just like more insult to injury, basically. It's difficult watching people decline so quickly. People coming in, and we just have them on, 2 liters of oxygen. And then over the next week, they're on 60 liters of oxygen and can't move. And it's just what do you do? Yeah.
That must be tough. Yeah. And how do you feel psychologically working with COVID patients?
It is sad when a patient is dying and there are no visitors. I think that's probably the worst of it, being involved in someone's death that way. Because often we are involved with, a patient's death one way or another, but usually there's family there. It's rotten to not have that, but it was the right decision. It was just a crappy decision to have to make.
How has your work during the pandemic impacted your family?
My daughter, she used to be pretty worried. And so I would text her, okay, I'm working in COVID section this evening, or okay, I'm somewhere else. Just so she would know. I think the not knowing was very difficult for her. And, we, like a lot of people, just didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything. We still really don't go anywhere, really don't do anything. That's been difficult in some ways and kind of nice in other ways. Again, very lucky that, nothing terrible happened to my family. My family on the whole tend towards introversion. So it's not been horrible. midway through last year, we did form like a bubble with another family, and that has been very helpful. My daughter is probably the most socially outgoing of us, and it has been hard for her not to have her pals at school. She's actually going to be going back to in-person school in 2 weeks, so she's very much looking forward to that, even though it's going to be weird and different.
A lot of people are struggling with feeling down, depressed, and if you're open to talking about it, like how has it affected you?
I do have a therapist. I am on antidepressants. The antidepressants are a long-standing thing, and as is the therapist. But certainly, a lot of our talk over the past year has been dealing with this whole thing. The not being able to see your friends, and how to cope with losing patients.
How do you think the media affects you, how you feel about the virus? Safer or more scared, and why?
I was, for sure, doom scrolling as much as everybody else was. Just sort of like, oh my goodness, it's getting worse. Oh, hey, it's getting worse. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. In general, I'll trust the CDC over what my friends say. Knowing, CDC, experts, people whose job it is to do this stuff. If somebody has some kooky theory, be like, okay. And, not care.
Is there anything you need your community or your school to be providing you?
At the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was staying at home and everything was closed down, there was a spontaneous mutual aid organization that sort of coalesced in my neighborhood, and that was awesome. I love mutual aid; it's great, and it was nice to feel a part of that.
Do you think life will eventually go back to normal? And if so, like, what is your prediction to when, or what the future holds?
I think normal is different now than it was. Mask wearing might be a thing that happens in the colder months.
Sure.
That we might do fist bumps instead of handshakes. It'll be interesting to see what happens, in large crowds, like how that will work, like a packed movie theater just seems weird to me. And, it's going to be different for every person based on, their risk tolerance. I think a thing that will change is, people's willingness to be accommodating to others, what their level of comfort with social interaction is.
What message or messages you would like to share with people in the community?
Get vaccinated. Yeah, do it.
For sure.
Take care of yourself.